Summary. The three characteristics of anicca, dukkha and anatta are linked. They are three facets of the same truth, as is seen in the Buddha's frequent teaching. Whatever is impermanent is dukkha, whatever is dukkha is non-self. Yad aniccham tam dukkham yad dukkham tad anatta. This passage is often followed by the statement, whatever is non-self should be seen with correct wisdom, as it truly is. Thus, this is not mine, I am not this. This is not myself. The relationship is also evident in the frequent exchange of questions and answers. Is material form, etc., permanent or impermanent? Impermanent. Is what is impermanent oppressive or easeful? Oppressive. Of that which is impermanent, oppressive, and of the nature to change, is it proper to consider thus: this is mine, I am this is myself. A brief explanation of the relationship between the three characteristics and of the fact that they are three aspects of the same truth can be formulated thus. All things originate by the union of component parts. Each of these parts arises and sustained and disintegrates, acting in turn as a condition for the other parts, in perpetual transformation. One can refer to this composite as a causal continuum, which has the following characteristics. 1. The rising and disintegration of components, the instability of the components or of the entire process, anicca. 2. The pressure on the components or on the entire dynamic by rise and decline, their being a subject to alteration and their inability to remain in an original state, dukkha. 3. The absence of a fixed core that governs the collection of components and the requirement for the components to accord with causes and conditions, the characteristic of non-self, anatta. By observing these three characteristics simultaneously, any object conventionally referred to as a distinct entity is seen as a composite of myriad clustering constituents. These constituents are unstable, continually rising and ceasing. They split up and disperse, subject to reciprocal stress and friction, resulting in transformation. They depend upon the relationship of causes and conditions, which control and give form to the particular continuum. None of the components exist as a self. They proceed in line with causality, not in compliance with desire. Although that which is impermanent is dukkha, and that which is dukkha is non-self, the converse is not always true, that whatever is non-self must be impermanent and dukkha. All conditioned phenomena, sankhara, are impermanent, subject to pressure and selfless. Yet all things, Dhamma, both conditioned things and the unconditioned, sankhara, although non-self, need not invariably be impermanent and dukkha. Something exists which is permanent and free of dukkha, the unconditioned, nibbana, although selfless, is beyond both impermanence and dukkha. In this sense, the definitions of the three characteristics as facets of one truth apply to conditioned phenomena, following the explanation of a non-self mentioned earlier. Similarly, the selfless quality of the unconditioned should be understood in conformity with the implied definition described above. 4. Concealers of the three characteristics. Although impermanence, dukkha, and selflessness are common characteristics to all things and reveal themselves constantly, people generally do not notice them. They are obscured. If one does not pay attention and investigate correctly, one does not recognize the obscuring factors. These factors include 1. Continuity, santati, conceals impermanence. 2. Movement, iddhiyapata, conceals dukkha. 3. Solidity, ghana, conceals non-self. By failing to pay close attention to arising and ceasing, to birth and decay, one allows continuity, santati, to obscure the characteristic of impermanence. All things that we experience perpetually rise and pass, but such rising and ceasing occurs in a continuous and rapid way. This rapid succession deceives people into viewing things as stable and unchanging. For instance, the image of oneself or of a friend appears the same as it did shortly before, but as time passes, one realizes that change has occurred. In truth, however, transformation happens incessantly, without any visible gap. An example of this deception is when one perceives a spinning propeller as a single motionless disk. When the speed of rotation slows, one sees a propeller with several moving blades. Similarly, when a person quickly waves a torch in a circular motion, it appears as a circle of light. Another example is a light bulb, which is seen as a still, bright sphere, but in reality the light results from a rapidly fluctuating electric current. When one applies the proper means, paying careful attention to the rising and ceasing of things, then impermanence, anicca, becomes clear. Likewise, with a lack of attention to perpetual pressure, movement, iddhiyapata, obscures the characteristic of dukkha. People normally require a span of time to notice instability. An object's inability to maintain or be sustained in an original shape due to stress and friction within its component parts. If in the meantime the object is moved or modified, or the observer is separated from it, the pressure and tension is not obvious. Our experience of things usually occurs in the context of such movement, and so dukkha is not recognized. Take, for example, the human body. One need not wait until the body perishes. Even in daily life, stress exists within the body, preventing a person from remaining still in one particular position. If one must remain in a single posture for long, whether standing, sitting, walking, or lying, the physical strain steadily increases to the point of pain and exhaustion, until it is unbearable. One must then move or change posture. Once the pressure, a consequence of the mark of dukkha, in the body ceases, the feeling of pain, dukkha vedana, also ceases. When a feeling of pain vanishes, there usually arises a feeling of ease in its place, which we call happiness. But this is simply a feeling. In reality, there is just an attenuation and absence of dukkha, pressure. Remaining for long in a single posture hurts, and one hastens to shift position. Normally, people continually move to avoid a feeling of discomfort. By evading discomfort, the dukkha, a truth inherent to all conditions, is consequently overlooked. Similarly, with a failure to separate an object into various elements, the characteristic of non-self is obscured by solidity, jnana. Something existing as a lump, mass, or an amalgamated unit. All conditioned things are created by a merging of component elements. Once the elements are separated, that integrated unit, called by a specific name, no longer exists. Generally, human beings do not discern this truth, it being obscured by the perception of solidity, jnana sanya, the recognition or denotation of something as a consolidated entity. This is consistent with the Thai folk saying, one sees the coat but not the cloth. One sees the doll but not the plastic. People may be deceived by the image of a coat, failing to notice the fabric with which it has been tailored. In truth, there is no coat. There are only numerous threads woven into a pattern. If the threads are unravelled, the cloth no longer exists. Likewise, a child who only sees a doll is deluded by its image, the plastic, which is the real substance of the doll, is not recognized. If one discerns the truth, then there is only plastic. No doll can be found. Even the plastic originates from the successive formation of component elements. The perception of solidity obscures the characteristic of non-self in the manner shown by these simple examples. If one separates and analyzes the components, the nature of non-self becomes clear. One sees things as anatta.